So, today's episode is going to feature a little we listen and we do not judge. I have clothes I need to fold, and I had y'all I need to talk to. So, I decided we're going to kill two birds with one stone. We're going to fold some clothes and we're going to chat. So, get ready and let's get into it. Today, as I thought about what I wanted to share and what distinctions I wanted to talk about today, I came across two things and I'm still wavering which one I'm going to go into or if I'm going to combine the two topics. The first one that came to mind that was a true groundbreaker for me today was this idea of expanding your capacity to meet the calling that is on your life. And I think this is so important even to the work that I do, whether it's corporate contracts. Here's the thing, and I don't know if y'all are following this. If you watched a few of these videos, you'll get a sense. I can do the tactics and tips and strategies and all those things all day long. And quite honestly, you can find a good bit of the information, from any of your favorite sources, right? So the value that I have to offer on this channel or in this company as a representation of a speaker, as a thought leader, is more than just here's three ways you can get a contract. Like, cool, yes. But what I really get to dive deep and what I get excited about is how to move things out of your way so that you can achieve and do the things that you are called to do. Contracts is a tactical thing within that, but my whole life, my life story, my life transformation has been about facing myself, strengthening, adjusting, being on a personal development journey to achieve the highest version or the highest output of what I'm here to create. That's what I'm really about. That's what we can jam out over and talk about that you wouldn't be able to find any place online. You can never find my perspectives, my experience, what I study, what I dive into, how I connect these things together to help enhance that fulfillment in our lives. And I struggled with, how do I make those two things go together? Like, I can remember being so challenged of feeling like, here's what I want to talk about, but here is the thing that people want to pay for, right? This is what they want to be able to do. And then still having to do it in a way that shows some uniqueness, that shows some perspective, because nobody's just going to hire someone to give them tactics and tips that they can find on their own. Like, there still has to be a unique approach to it. So a part of my approach is also how I think about things. This connection between capacity and stretching, like to open up to that, I think it's important even to the corporate contract journey, because in many cases, people don't go after the opportunities, or we don't even have to talk about like pricing yourself, because that's like a whole different thing. But let's just talk about even going after the opportunities, even seeking them or getting in the room to be considered for the opportunities is often stopped simply because that capacity, that ability to get yourself out there, get the reps in the door, start talking to people, make contacts, have conversations, all the things that are required for you to be able to get the opportunity. Most people don't even step up to the plate. That's a problem. And it's not about talent, because I talk to so many brilliant people and I'm like, yo, if you only knew how many people are half as qualified. I saw this for myself and I had to check myself on this. Seeing someone who in this season, I've talked about it before, my major journey is on becoming a keynote speaker. And of course, in so many different ways, I could begin to sabotage that. I could look at someone and say, oh, well, they've been in this space for decades, so that's why they get these opportunities. Oh, they're older. Oh, they have this experience and that experience. Until I saw someone younger than me, similar resume, and getting these very opportunities that I'm working towards. I'm like, okay. So that's gone. I feel like God often does these things with me where it's like the very thing that I'm ruminating on, even if I don't say it out loud, even if I try not to, you know, give it any weight because I'm like, some thoughts I'm just like, I don't even want to think this. This is not good. I just don't even want to speak it because I don't want to give it energy. I don't want to give it breath, right? But of course he knows those things. And I feel like he shows me at the right time the very thing that I thought was a limitation. He'll pop it back up and say, try again. Like, nope, that's not it either. So what else you got? Here's someone who's doing exactly what you said isn't possible. So what else? What other excuse could you have? And then I'm like, say less. You're right. There is no excuse. There is no excuse. And I use that as fuel to get myself going, to get myself activated and excited about what I'm creating. When I talk to people who are brilliant and they're not doing it, I know that that's a part of the reason, that there are stories that are in their head telling them that they can't, that these companies won't see me. There's experiences that they've had in the past, whether that's some corporate trauma or whatever the case may be, that's telling them they can't do it. And it's just simply not true. So I guess we're in on this topic today. I'm going to share what works for me to combat that feeling that something is outside of me. And I want to call this out specifically for people who are high achievers. I've got this TV on, so you probably see this flashing. But people who are high achievers, because it can be very difficult to be someone who's accomplished a lot, yet when you feel like there's something that's on the cusp, that's on the edge of your comfort zone, you feel that friction, right? And most people wouldn't believe that you have those pauses because they see all the things that you do, but they don't recognize that stuff is easy. They don't recognize that. I can see that a mile away because I do that. Like, I know that so well. These accomplishments that we've had seem extraordinary to the outside world because you're just above average in general. You just always have been. And because of that, when you get pulled into something that actually calls on your real skills, it's hard to admit or to be seen vulnerably as afraid that it may not work, or to be seen as the person who actually isn't doing the thing that calls them out of their comfort zone because all the other stuff didn't require as much. For some people, it would have required more, but for you, doesn't require much. The first thing that I am actively doing in those situations is expanding my capacity. And I didn't have language for it until today. I was watching the Clarity Sunday service at the Potter's House. I highly recommend checking that out. It was so practical, so good. And Pastor Teray was talking about ways to ensure you are constantly in alignment and that you're seeking clarity, right? And talking about, he mentioned it was one particular thing. I had to rewind a couple of parts back so many times because it was just so confirming. But he talked about being able to expand your capacity to believe at the level that God can deliver on. You're going to have to go back and listen to him say it, but it was so good. And I thought about it because in this space that I've been in, there's this challenge of religious people are just mostly thinking whatever they need, whatever they desire, they can just pray on it and get it, right? That they don't have to work for it, that any, striving or any movement or momentum that you are exerting to make a thing work isn't necessary. I've heard this, people saying they don't have to market or they don't have to, sell. They don't have to do the things in business in order to get results because you are a kingdom business owner or whatever, or just in life. Not even for me, I've heard that on the business side, But in my life, I've definitely seen people who believe they can just pray over a thing and it'll just work out, and they really don't do anything to move forward. And then you have the other side of the world who doesn't acknowledge God, who doesn't have a connection to faith, and well, faith in the biblical sense. And they just run off with the ideas and do the things and, make it happen. And some maybe to their detriment and some not. I felt that there was some not blending of the two, because faith is very clear, like you either are or you're not. So there's no blending of like different faiths or different approaches. It's still central for me on God, on Jesus, right? But the part with religion that is the gap for me, the way that I've seen it, is the works part. We'll hear people repeat the verse about faith without works is dead, but are they doing the works? No. And the work is not just simply what you do with your hands. The work is also the things that you do on yourself to expand your capacity. Come on. That is the work as well. And I would argue that's the hardest, but the most influential work to what it is that you want to create. With that in mind, expanding your capacity for what God wants you to receive. And he talks about it like, oh, you're doing, you're working on yourself. He said it kind of high level, but I'm like, that's exactly what I was feeling, that I was drawn to, that I knew was possible. And what we should be focused on is that expansion, because when you can expand to truly believe a few things about what the word says you are, and not just reading the word like externally, but like embodying the word, knowing who you are based on the word, not just who God is in the word, but who he's created you to be, expands your capacity. Repeating and undoing some of the things that have blocked you. He says this verse that was, I had to go and look up so many different verses, but it was Psalm 81. I think it was the whole thing. And it talks about like opening your mouth wide. I think that was the right one. Opening your mouth wide so that he might fill it. That's what God says, right? And I'm like, that struck me, because so many of our vessels are so limited that we can't receive the fullness of the blessing that is for us. And we hide it behind, whatever is for me won't miss me type of thing. And it's like, no, it may not miss you, but you still may never get it if you don't expand your capacity. One thing that I've also been like marinating on right now is this idea or this thought process that going along with that idea of what won't miss you, things won't miss you if it's for you type of thing. But there are moments in time for things that God is looking to bless you with. And if you're not ready to receive it, that's what I was going to say. I kind of lost the train of my thought. If you're not ready to receive it, it won't happen. But the thing that I've been marinating on is that we are okay being programmed with all this negativity. This was so good to me. We are okay that we've been programmed with the negative side, with lack, with disobedience, with not having things, with the media that says certain things and spins certain things in our mind, with just different scenarios or sayings that have been said to us throughout our lifetime or in our culture. We are okay with those things that have aligned us with lack. And I'm talking about like religious communities, right? We're okay with that. We don't call that out. and call that the devil and call it what it is and make sure we cast those things out. But it's like when people are attempting to do something to reprogram their brain to the positive. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying people who align with other religions or do things that are conflicting. I'm saying when you're actively just speaking out what the word says and coming against the things that have been planted in your mind in the past, that to me is expanding capacity. If I only believe, let's give a practical example of, something that I've heard so many things growing up, but just down to things like people saying, oh, if it's not one thing, it's another. It's always going to be issues. You know, oh, if I was a millionaire, people say can't have money, or if I was a millionaire, if I had $1,000,000, but I don't have that. And, just this whole comfortability around lack is a part of the culture itself. Not everyone's experience, but a lot of the experience is that type of language from my perspective. We are okay with inviting that in. But when it comes to being called to millions, being called to be a millionaire, both cannot exist together. It caps your capacity. What you believe and what you have roots in, the very thing that you have heard your whole entire life, is what you are unconsciously tethered to. So it doesn't matter if you read the word and it says that you have an inheritance, because you don't even believe that you could make $10,000. So I believe that in the sense of the biblical concepts and the physical concepts, we have to understand that this world that we're living in has piled up so much negativity. That's why I think more people are open to therapy, right? Because of all things that we have experienced, it's important to actually get physical help to walk through these things. I think mindset work is just as beneficial because we've been exposed to things that we were never meant to expose or carry ourselves with. If you read the whole Bible and see, like David and other people in the Bible who had, this abundance, Joseph, like people who had this abundance, like borderline opulence, in the right sense of the word, like, or not even people who were famous in the Bible, y'all. I can just remember her maidservants, attend to her. The bridegroom has her maid, like, not bridegroom, but the bride has her maidservant. So the young virgin, she has her attendants with her. The princess, like, you see these things in the word. These things were normal parts of the word. So why is it that we are okay? We've become conditioned to lack, and it's fine to stay there. But it's a problem when you look to seek in the right ways to expand your capacity. Because God's not limited. We are. We're the only people that are limited. He's got lots of plans and ideas and things that he's already written for us. Yet we continue to stay stuck. So going back to my steps, the first thing is expanding my capacity, whether that's reading, whether that is affirming, whether that's doing exercises to bring up what is holding me back, what truths do I accept now? Because how can I really live by the word and embody the word if my vessel is weak? And a lot of that comes through worship and prayer. That strength, that capacity definitely expands through worship and prayer. And it also expands through tactical applications. And being honest with myself and saying, this is what I believe. And then I can pray into the thing. If I'm not willing to sit down and look at what beliefs are blocking me, I have no way to directly pray into the thing and invite God into the processes that he's already created for us to be prosperous. So that capacity is one that allows me to take aligned actions, that allows me to have peace, that allows me to move in confidence. So how do I bring that back to my work? My example earlier with seeing that person and I'm like, oh, they're younger than me, they're doing things. Say less. It's off to the races now. Like, say less. Now I'm expanding my capacity for everything that I was fighting against that was telling me I can or I shouldn't or it's not a good idea. I've now replaced that. Because all of those stopping points, what if they don't respond? What if they don't? All of that is assuming that I'm going to go into this as the version that I am right in this moment. I have to remember that people will say, well, this is just who I am. I don't align with that. I'm shaking that off right now. I don't align with that. I am whoever I need to be for my assignment. So I'm never going to assume that that situation is going to happen to me in this skin. I'm going to assume that the person I need to be at that point is going to arrive when I achieve that thing. So any thoughts about, oh, this and oh, that and doubts, invalid. Those are doubts of this moment. I don't have the thing, so I have nothing to worry about. I have trust and faith, which leads me to my last point of faith, which is why I said made the distinction between people with biblical faith or biblical foundation. Because a lot of times, and this has been said before, people who don't have a connection to God, who haven't given themselves over to be saved, who don't believe in Jesus Christ, who don't read the Bible, who, you know what I'm saying, just completely detached from faith, religion, any of that, God, they actually have a lot more faith than people who actually have a book. I literally have, because I was studying it today. The people who actually have the book of faith, there are people who don't have this, who don't know nothing about it, who know nothing about God, yet they have more faith than the people who do. That's a travesty. Because they just have faith in themselves. They just have faith that things are going to work out, a faith in the universe, or, you know, whatever the case may be. All those things are nothing in comparison to the God that is written in this book. So if it is that you truly believe what you say you believe, you should have a level of faith and belief and capacity that is not even fathomable. It should be out of this world. There should be nothing that should be holding you back from the thing that you're called to do. If you're called to be in corporations, nothing should be holding you back from doing that. If you are a believer. Nothing. And no person should be outsmarting or, and here's the other thing. People will use, well, you know, whoever's last shall be first, and, you know, all these things in the humble. Yes, absolutely. But when it comes to your role, the thing that you're supposed to be doing, we got to separate some things too. Like your job, you ought to want to be the top. You ought to want to put in the work. You ought to want to be the one that is delivering the results. That's not the same thing as, you know, the whole thing about being humble. It's not about, that's to me is about pride and boasting. And you're the first because you've got popularity and, you know, you're assuming that you have all of this and you're self-exalting. That's last shall be first, humbling, all of that. But in the things that you're called to do, you should want to be the best. You should put in the work. You should have faith that's unmatched. You should be putting your name in the hat for opportunities that could help you get in front of the people that you're called to serve. They are within these companies. They are within these organizations. They are within these schools. They need you. So being fearful about sending an email is whack. I'm sorry. No, we're not accepting that. Being afraid that somebody won't respond. No. We won't accept that. The assignment costs too much to be sitting on things that either won't happen, or if they did, oh well, it's how many ever billion people in the world? You mean to tell me you can't have a handful of people that say yes and change your world and change the world? Faith, faith, and devotion. That is how I help myself get activated, what I'm using, tools that I'm using right now and have used in the past to achieve things that seem out of reach. And I'm doubling down now because I feel that I'm stretching even further out of reach in this season. But I'm doing it with a level of peace, and I'm doing it with a level of boldness. Stop hiding. Stop shrinking. Stop overthinking. Stop being tied to doubt. Expand your capacity. Go forth with devotion. And if I am the person that is meant to be with you on that journey, check out the comments to book a call with me to learn how I can support you into getting into these corporate spaces, but ultimately showing you what it takes to have the identity to go after these opportunities. That is what we do. So go ahead and click the link below, book the call. And if you don't want this time to end, you know what to do. The next video is popping up for you. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you tomorrow. We might be folding clothes again. Also, if you stayed to the end, I'm going to tell you a little secret. These clothes been sitting here since New Year's Eve. We just been going through them and getting the stuff that we need. And they have been sitting in these baskets and on a bed in our house since New Year's Eve. We listen and we don't judge, okay? We're going to get them folded up in the name of Jesus. All right. I'll see y'all in the next one.